Now we're going to move to the panel session. If you can see my screen, we have three panelists. We have Han Chidima Johnson, who is a GIS professional, and then we have Mafusa Adamu Abubakar, who is a town planning officer at the in Abuja, and then we have Olufemi Ayomide Damilola, who is a remote sensing and GIS student from FUSA. And so basically what we're just going to be doing today is we just want to know, as women, we know that GIS is a male-dominated industry, and we just want to hear their perspective on the journey so far, how they've been able to, go through barriers and break barriers, and how they are trying to carve out a career for themselves in the GIS sector. So before we move on to the question, I would just want to give the panelists like just a few minutes to just say hi to everybody and just give a very short introduction. So I'm going to call Mafusa Adamu first. Hello, Mafusa. Good evening. Thank you so much for joining the panel session. We are so glad to have you, and we can't wait to hear what you have to share with us today.
Hello, ladies. Good afternoon from Abuja. My name is Mahfusa Adamu Abubakar. I work as a town planning officer at the Federal Capital Development Authority, and I'm also passionate about GIS and remote sensing. And I went to Federal University of Technology, Yola. I have a BTech in urban and regional planning. So that's me.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for joining us today. So next, I'm going to call on Olufemi Ayomide Damilola to just give us a short introduction. Hello, Damilola. Good evening.
Hi, good evening, everyone.
Yeah,
Hello, good evening, everyone.
Yeah, good evening.
My name is Olufemi Ayomide Damilola. I'm talking from Ondo State, a student of remote sensing and GIS at Federal University of Technology, Akure. So it's a pleasure to be a part of this. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Then we are also going to have Chidima Johnson. Hello, Chidima, how are you doing?
Hello, I'm fine. Good evening. My name is Johnson Chidima Ann. I'm a GIS professional. I did my master's in geoinformatics and surveying in the University of Nigeria Nsukka. And I'm mapping from Enugu.
Okay, yeah, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're so glad to have you. So I'm just going to go into the question. Before you go into answer this question, I just want to share how I got into GIS, because I know that GIS is not something that we really hear about like that in Nigeria. So when I went to fill in for my JAM, I wanted to fill in for University of OAU. I wanted to pick estate management, and then I wanted to also fill in for Poly, and then I wanted to also pick estate management for Poly. But unfortunately for me, the person that was attending to me just mistakenly filled in survey and GIS for me and for the Polytechnic. So, and I was like, I'm not going to go to the Polytechnic. So I just ignored him and said, well, it's okay, let's just move on, and don't worry, I'm going to go into the university. But then I did not get into the university that year, and so I had to go to Poly first, and I had to do survey and geoinformatics because that was the course that I registered for. And then when I got done, I now went to university to do my BSc. So that's how I got into GIS. So that's my own little story. So I want to talk about how you personally, as an individual, how you were encouraged to get into GIS. So I would like for Chidima to share her own experience on that.
Okay. First and foremost, I would like to thank you for giving me the platform to share my passion and experience in the field so far. So I got into this course because I've always had passion for the environment, and I did my BSc actually in geography. So studying geography was a natural thing for me. I fell in love with it when I observed the versatile nature of the course. So I went further to pursue my master's. When I saw what I could do with GIS, I went further to to study my master's. So I've come to appreciate having contributed to a series of projects where GIS have played a major role in preferring solutions. And I've come to know that they serve as a reference guide for sustainable development. So yeah, GIS has just been a passion for me, a natural passion for me.
Oh wow, that's a very interesting story to hear. Thank you so much for sharing that
Thank
with
you.
us. Yeah, so can we have Mafusa, can you tell us also how you were encouraged to get into GIS? Because I know you studied, like you mentioned, you studied urban and regional planning in your BSc. So how did you get to, yeah?
Well, just like you, it wasn't a choice. Urban and regional planning was never my choice. Architecture was my choice, and I had went far in architecture just to somehow find myself back in urban and regional planning. And then in my third year, there was a graduate assistant who came back from his PhD, who happens to be an expert in GIS and remote sensing. And so then we started introductory courses about GIS and remote sensing, and somehow I picked interest. And during my final year project, I was sorted out to the category who the GIS expert, was to supervise. And after so many deliberations, I got to find out the kind of environmental problems that GIS can help in solving. You know, noise, pollution, poverty, flood, crime, etc. And so I picked interest, and then I went into mapping the spatial distribution of automobile workshops and relating how they are placed improperly in the environment and how they are rampant, how they cause noise and environmental pollutions. And yeah, that was how I went into GIS, and since then the journey has been amazing so far.
Oh, oh wow, thank you so much for sharing that with us. I am particularly so intrigued by this you just shared about using GIS for the automobile stuff. I think that's an interesting project. And so Damilola, do you want to share with us how I know you are studying GIS and remote sensing and your final year. So how did you get into GIS and remote sensing? Was it a first choice for you, or were you just given?
Thank you, Omowonola. Before I gain admission, I have no clue about what remote sensing and GIS is. Okay, then I think I put in for mechanical engineering too. So I had no clue of what GIS is. Then on the long run, I got GIS, and in fact, there was no interest because when you don't even know what you are studying. So I think all along I've been doing reading and cramming just to pass exams. You understand? So
Yeah.
I think until 300 level, when I had a friend and I saw how beautiful GIS could be. Like with GIS, you can like you're open to a lot of things. With GIS, you can still do programming, graphic design. Like it brings out creativity in you. You can be
Yeah.
creative with GIS, you understand? And for the fact that GIS could be a helping tool that you can use in solving lots of problems. So that means with GIS you can never be stranded. Like that is a motivation on its own. So
Yeah.
I just had to develop that passion. Like that passion just had to come out. So I think
Yeah.
that was how I got started with GIS. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, thank you so much. So it's very interesting to hear that all the panelists actually have like some stumbled into it and then they later developed interest, and it's just an interest that they are willing to let go anytime soon because they've actually developed a passion for GIS already. So now let's move into the second question. So you know that, like I mentioned before, we all know that GIS is a male-dominated field, and sometimes it can be very hard for us as women because when we are in the midst of men and we don't see people like us, I know it can be very very challenging for us. And I'm going to be pushing this question to Chidima and Mafusa because I know that you guys have already like you've been in the workforce, you've seen how it is. So I want you to share your experience, like have you ever struggled with confidence as a woman in GIS, and how did you overcome it? So Chidinma, do you want to go first?
Thank you very much. I wouldn't say I have struggled with my confidence per se as a woman in the field in GIS, particularly. But I noticed that when you come into a class, you have more men than women studying GIS.
Yeah.
And in Nigeria, GIS is not yet known, unlike medicine and law. So it is like a course or something you tell somebody, and the person asks you, so what is GIS? So you have to come and start explaining over and over and over. So the only thing I think was kind of a struggle was just getting into a class where you see a lot of men, and men just believe that they know how to do it best, and women have little no understanding or knowledge to pull through. So, and I was so happy that in my department, when I did my master's, women did better than men. So I wasn't in any way challenged or discouraged or struggle with my confidence based on it. So it has been something that I've been happy and proud to do, and do it well at that.
Yeah. So it's so nice to hear that you're not shaken by the fact that GIS is a male-dominated industry, and you're just going forward and saying, yes, I can also do that. So Mafusa, can you also share your input?
Yeah, just like Chidima, I have never felt shook that GIS is a male dominated industry. I've never felt intimidated by the having to see more men in class than women. I've never been intimidated by seeing more men at work than women. The only challenge I have had so far in GIS is just like she said, it's not well known in Nigeria. And then, you get to have all this knowledge and you don't get to practice it. That's the challenge I have been having since I started GIS. And even at my workplace, we really don't use GIS that much. But thank God, thankfully now they happen to need this database they need for the whole master plan of the FCT. And I happen to be one of the members who are working on the database for the FCT master plan. So yeah, when you go to places like NASDA, you see a lot of women. Like I could say there's a 50-50 percentage of that, or let's say 70-30. And I really don't get intimidated that GIS is a male-dominated industry. Yeah.
Okay, I think that's a confidence boost for people that might be here and they're wondering, like, okay, GIS is a male dominated field and who I'm a woman, how do I and how will I like be able to go through? So I feel like, thank you so much for sharing. I feel like that's like a confidence boost for people here. So Mafusa, I'm going to move on to the next question, which is for you. And I know that, like you mentioned, that you study urban and regional planning, and I'm just wondering, like, how do you use GIS as a town planning officer? Like, have you ever used GIS at work before? I know you just mentioned the master plan for the FCT, but I just also want to ask, like, has there been any other project you worked on as a town planning officer where your GIS skills really came to play in that project?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Apart from the one I mentioned earlier, which was from my undergraduate, the spatial distribution of automobile workshops and proposing where to better locate those kind of industries. And then this master plan that we are currently working on to build the geodatabase for, I have worked on campus crime mapping, and currently working on the spatial assessment of crime pattern in my neighborhood. And I'm doing a spatiotemporal analysis from 2015 to 2020. I should have completed this work last year in July, but this pandemic came and everything just got distorted. And of recent, I was able to write an article for the GIS Day Map article competition, where I get to show data of COVID-19 from April to November 2020. And I showed the spatial distribution of the molecular testing laboratories we have in Nigeria across Nigerian states. So far, these are the things I have been able to do with GIS, and hopefully I intend to achieve more. I'm looking at noise. I'm looking at noise and how it affects the environment. I'm looking at how traffic affects the environment, and I'm looking at poverty, mapping out poverty using remote sensing. So these are the things I intend to achieve more. Yeah.
Okay, I think those are quite interesting project. Chidima, I got to just know that you also studied geography. So maybe if you just want to like chip in for a few seconds on how you've also been able to integrate GIS as a geographer, like how has GIS also helped you as a geographer?
Okay,
Chidima,
geography. Hello.
yeah.
Yeah, geography is just like incorporated in GIS and GIS in geography. So it has to do with spatial location and analysis. So it is not like it's a different thing you have to come and start trying to adopt a GIS for. So in geography, I actually did GIS as a course. Yes, I actually did GIS as a course. So they are not separate courses. They are just the same thing. It's just spatial location, how to get spatial data, how to get your informations and all of that, and integrate them. That's all.
Okay. Thank you so much
Yeah. Thank you.
for that. So Chidima, I'm going to be moving to you. So because you've actually been in the parts in the field for a while. I know that there are
Yeah.
people here that they are still students and maybe they've been wondering like, okay, I'm studying environmental management, I'm environmental management faculty, I'm studying estate management, I'm studying urban regional planning, but then I don't know how I can also like try to move ahead in my career. So I just want you to share like for those people that are starting in their career, what skills do you think that they should have?
Okay. I would say GIS is all about softwares. GIS is something that works with software. So the skills whoever wants to indulge in the career should be software skills. Like the person should know how to use ArcGIS, how to map which platforms to map on, and like me, I had to go the extra mile to do web mapping on GIS cloud and all that. So
Okay.
for me, the first step I think the person should know is how to use the software, the ArcGIS software, and the person can still proceed to carrying out analysis on the ArcGIS software.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's good. So, in my own opinion, I feel like also to just like with the software that they should also learn, they should also like try to understand the basics and the fundamental of GIS because there's some things that you need to understand before you can even move into saying you want to be able to use the softwares like projections and all of that.
Mm.
So just to add to what Chidima said, so if you're starting and you want to know how to start, I recommend that you also learn the technical skills, like you learn the softwares and also you try to understand the basics of GIS. So this last question is going to be to Damilola. And the question is that so I want to know the ratio percentage of male in your class and how do you think that we can also get more females involved in GIS?
All right. The ratio of male to female is like 10% to 90%. Like for instance, in my class, I think we are about 90 students, and we have just five of us that are ladies. So
Wow.
it can be challenging actually, but I believe we are growing. Like it's a matter of time. Initially, when the department just started, I got to know that maybe they had just one or two, and there are years
Wow.
whereby they don't even have any. So I believe we grow with time. Grow with time.
Yeah. So how can we have more female involved in GIS? Because I know the reason why, I feel like the reason why we don't really have more female students in GIS, because if not because I had the chance to, the luck that happened to me, I might not have even like be in this career path because I never even knew what GIS was until when I got to school. I never even, like you mentioned, I never even heard about it before. So how do you think we can have more females involved in GIS, especially in Nigeria where GIS is just coming up and people don't really know much about it?
Okay. Since GIS seems to be a form of new course, even some male are not even aware of GIS. Not to talk of some ladies. So I would propose like participatory events, and I think it depends on the lady herself. It depends on your interest.
Yeah.
Because studying my environment, I'd say most ladies are really into entrepreneurship. You understand, learning some add male skill, you understand, and going into entrepreneurship. So you can't. I think you as an individual, when you do great things with GIS and they say, ah, this is a lady doing great things with GIS, I can actually do better. So that could encourage a lady like you to want to go into GIS. So I think the change should start with you as a lady in your environment, notwithstanding, try to talk to one or two persons, tell them about GIS, you understand. Most times I've seen couple of ladies that are meeting for the first time. When I try introducing myself to them, okay, my name is so, I'm in this department, and they start asking, okay, what is this department? Like, it sounds strange. And from there I start telling them about, okay, this is what we do, this is what the department is all about. So if we can have one or two ladies like that too, apart from your work, try to be engaging, you understand? Try to be engaging, talk to people about GIS. So I believe with time would grow. And thanks
Yeah.
to Nigeria SE4ALL, this kind of program, imagine, I was even surprised to see the number of participants that joined today. So this is a
Yeah.
way of also creating awareness about GIS. And I know most of them do not really have an idea of what GIS is, but the interest was there. And they were curious to know, okay, why are we here? What are they doing here? You understand?
Yeah.
So I think events like this too, you understand, would encourage ladies, and when they see the light in GIS, what GIS can do, what it has to offer,
Yeah.
it's motivation on its own. So I think we can go by that. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. So I just want to ask, so if and Mafusa and Damilola, so how can we reach? Because I know there might be people here that might just want to be able to reach out to you and ask you more questions about, okay, I have interest in giants, or maybe I'm working on this project, and also since you already mentioned some of the projects you worked on, I might want to also be work on this project. I might need you to just show me some resources on how to go about it. So please, can you drop your Twitter and do in the chat so that people that might have interest in maybe reaching out to you and asking you questions, just to maybe if they're working on a final year project and they want to use GIS for that, please you can drop your Twitter and do in the chat box. So if you have any question, okay, so before I go into asking the audience the questions, I would just like for our panelists to just give us their last advice. What do you have to say? Do you have anything you also want to add that you feel like might be beneficial to people that are in this call at this present moment? So, Afisa, I would like to follow you.
Okay, yeah, thank you for this question. I'd just like to say to the young ladies out there to challenge themselves by attending seminars, conferences, webinars. This pandemic has brought about this whole technology thing, and you get to learn things without being in the four walls of a classroom. You don't have to have someone teaching you physically. You can go on YouTube, search for something, and you will just get the tutorial video on how to do it. There are different courses on Esri, the MOOC, that's the massive open online courses, and they're mostly free. They are self-paced, and you get to learn a lot of things. They have courses like these going places with spatial analysis. They have the cartography, which was just recently concluded, and lots more. And I feel like young ladies should also attach themselves to mentors who can better challenge them and help them grow in the way that they can. Because, GIS should be for everybody. It's basically taking all over everything. So this is just my piece of advice to the young ladies out there.
Oh, thank you so much, Afisa. It's been so nice hearing your journey and hearing everything you've been up to. Chidima, can we have you also tell us maybe your last advice? What do you want to say?
Okay. What I would advise is first and foremost, GIS is a practical course. So no matter how many certificates you have in GIS, if you don't practice, it's useless. So I think they should just aim at practicalizing what they've studied, put it into practice. Like for me, when I was doing my project in my MSc, I had to look for a GIS oriented project. I was looking for something GIS could solve. And I had to do a spatial temporal analysis on neonatal mortality between 2014 and 19 in Enugu. So I did that, and health sectors can adopt it. It can help to improve practices and policies and help the health sector and know, the number of neonates that die yearly, what is happening, how to correct it, in the practical sense of it, not just in the theoretical sense. So whatever knowledge or experience or whatever one is getting, you have to put it into practice.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah, thank you.
Ayomide, yeah, Ayomide, can you also give us your last word?
All right, thank you. Mafsa mentioned you having a mentor, and Anne mentioned you putting yourself into practice. So why putting yourself into practice and having a mentor? I think it's cool when you sell yourself how to. I think we discussed this in the last African Women in GIS meeting I attended. So there's need for you to sell yourself how, like, let people know this is what you do, this is what your interest is, so that when opportunity come, it won't pass you by. People would easily point at you that, okay, this person is interested in GIS, let's try her out. So
Yes.
in nutshell, sell yourself out. Thank
Okay.
you.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. So now that's all the question from me. So now we are going to be taking questions from our audience. Please, if you have any questions, you can show by raise of hands, or you can drop them in the chat box. I'm going to read it out for the panelists. Actually, somebody already asked the question that I already got an answer. Somebody asked that, okay, getting a license for ArcGIS is quite expensive. Are there open source software that may have same capabilities as ArcGIS? Yes, and they already mentioned that yes, QGIS is open source and you can download it on your laptop and get tutorials from YouTube. You can, yeah, to just get started with it. So, do we have any questions from our audience? Please, if you if you don't want to talk, you can please drop your questions in the chat box, and I'm going to read that for our panelists. We have about 7 minutes to go into the next session. So he's waiting for the questions. Hello, Inari. Hello, Inari. Okay. Mafusa, somebody asked. Okay, so somebody asked that. Can you mention the sites again for the MOOC courses on GIS? Hello, Mafusa, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Okay, you can just go to Google and type Esri MOOC courses, and you're going to see several of them appearing, and you can just go for your pick.
Okay, so go to Google. I'm typing that now. Go to Google and type in Esri. I know that. Okay, so somebody already asked, Walia Adedoko asked her, can you be our mentor, ma'am?
Sure. Why not? Because I was just part of mentees that completed a mentorship program under the African Women in GIS community, and I have learned so much from my mentor and a lot of ladies in the platform. So I feel like there's no need hiding the knowledge. It's very, very cool to share it out there with people.
So Walia, please, if you check through the chat, Mafusa dropped her LinkedIn name, and then her also her Twitter handle. So please, if you would like to connect with her and also start your mentorship, you can just message her on social media. And I feel you guys can just take it from there. So Omawumi Temitope also mentioned that if you also need to get courses, you can also go on Coursera, EDX, and YouTube, and to get started with GIS. So please, do we have any other person that would like to ask questions? We have 5 minutes to go. Please don't be shy. You have the opportunity to ask people who have been there, who they're already working in the field and they know what it feels like. So please, if you have any questions, you can just type it in the chat or raise your hand and I'm going to call you so that you can ask your question. We have 4 minutes to go. Okay, so I'm waiting. Okay. Still, nobody has a question. Yeah. Yeah, so also we can also use Udemy. Someone just Anna just dropped on the chat box that you can also go to Udemy, although you need to pay something to access it, but they are great courses there. So yeah, we are waiting for questions. Please, you don't have to be shy if you don't want to. Okay, Mafusa, you can go ahead and say what you want.
Okay, I also wanted to mention there's a platform on YouTube for the Geotech Institute. I think they are called the Geotech Institute or something. Just browse it. It's an Indian organization that have like an intimidating capacity on GIS and remote sensing. And during the lockdown, they organized a 1-week free GIS training program. So, and they always post links on different sort of analysis using GIS. You could also look up on that and subscribe to their channel so you can have access to more knowledge on this. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mafusa. We have so we have 2 minutes before the end of this session. Please, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. We are all learning. We are all learning, and yeah, somebody so Inina just dropped in the chat box that the for females you can join the African Women in GIS to meet more mentors and learn more. Yeah, so if you want to also meet more mentors, so Inina just dropped in the chat box that you can also join the African Women GIS to meet more mentors and learn more. So Mafusa's Walia was unable to access your handle on Twitter, I guess.
My handle on Twitter, okay, let me share it again.
Okay. Yeah. So if you want to have, yeah. So yeah. Yeah. Mm. Yeah. Okay, yeah. So yeah. Someone also said LinkedIn is a good place to learn. So if you also want to learn, you can also go on LinkedIn. Yeah. So in okay. Okay. Yeah. So I guess that can in the since we don't have any questions from the audience, any more questions, I think that this has been a great session. I've learned so much from this. Thank you so much to Chidinma, Mafusa, and Ayomide for joining this session. We hope that you've learned a lot from this, and we hope that we see you do great things with GIS and use GIS to solve problems in the local community. So I think we can move on to the next session. So Dennis, do you want to take over from here?
Thank you for having us. Bye.
Thank you so much. Yeah, bye. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.